All right, everybody. Unhappy Thursday to all of you out there. Little day late today. Had a little bit of trouble getting back in from Tampa Bay, but so I need a little extra time to get prepared and get everything settled and be able to come on and talk to you tonight instead of last night. So we are coming to you live once again from our humble abode here. This is the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio and part of the Green Legion Radio family. Thank you, as always, for joining us from wherever you may be and whatever service you're using to tune in. So pull up a chair, turn up the volume, use the company dime if you're still stuck at work, crack open a cold one if you have the opportunity, and let's have some fun as we put an end to Friday Eve and look forward to ending this week's hostage situation tomorrow. Bryant Walden in the room says, "What's up? How you doing, my friend? We are good over here." Keenan Harmon, what do you call a low-budget circumcision? I'm sure you're going to tell me, so go right ahead. Great to see you guys, as always. So a little bit delayed. Couldn't quite get the show in last night. Had to call an audible and move it to tonight. It was a rough travel back from Tampa. The time we spent down there was amazing. We were down there we got down to Tampa on Thursday, kind of late afternoon, early evening. Spent Thursday night and Friday night with friends of ours on St. Pete Beach. So Kidder, Alicia, thank you again if you're out there listening. Very much appreciated. Always a great time seeing you. Wish we could do it more often. And then, of course, Saturday, headed up to Clearwater and began the Green Legion fun for the weekend. So, but coming back, and we'll get into the Green Legion stuff here in a few, but coming back on Tuesday, originally when I booked the flight, we were supposed to leave at like 2 something and get in at 4 something. And then like 3 weeks later, they changed it. And it ended up being where we were leaving at 6 something and getting it at like 8:25 or whatever. Flight takes off from Tampa, no problem. We get to Cincinnati 15 minutes early and pull up and stop about 100 feet before the gate. And the pilot comes on and says, "Well, we got here early. We beat the thunderstorms, but now there's lightning strikes reported within 3 to 5 miles of the airport, and FAA regulation states they cannot use the ramp when there's lightning like that going on." So we ended up sitting on the plane for hours after that. And so it was a very, very late night getting in, and we were already worn out, but that didn't help. So we decided to push the show out a day so that I could get prepared. And Well, and give my voice an extra day too, because Tuesday I couldn't even speak. So some of you have seen me before at Green Legion events. I'm sure that comes as no surprise, or particularly any of you who are in Arizona. Yeah. Anyways, who else is in the room here? Lou Mancini. What's going on, my friend? Ready to whoop up on the commode, says Keenan. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Susan Trainer, happy Thursday. Unhappy Thursday on this show, but we try to be as entertaining as possible. Great to have you with us. Let's get down to the little bit of business stuff here, although I'm hoping sometime soon. It sounds like we may actually be able to get a sponsor for our unhappy audience here. So that would be really, really great. But for now, if you're tuning in on Facebook or Twitter, please do not forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe to the Green Legion. If those services are where you're more comfortable, we totally get it. But just so you know, the YouTube channel is the best way, and you can ask any of the folks in the room, any of our regulars, Keenan, Bryant, Lou. The YouTube channel is the best way to view, listen, and also interact with us on any Green Legion radio show. So please, even if you're more comfortable on Facebook or Twitter, I'm not going to try to talk you out of it too long here. Do us a favor. Also head over to YouTube. Even if you don't want to use it, you don't like the platform, whatever the case may be, go ahead and search the Green Legion, subscribe, and hit your little bell for notifications, and share that everywhere. Okay. We want to flood the internet with the Green Legion. If you cannot catch our shows live, you can always watch or listen later on any of the services previously mentioned, but also on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. We say it every week, Bud Light Baseball Brunch with Greg Murphy and Chris Sack. You guys, congratulations to the Phils. Congratulations on another Red October. I know I'm going to get a couple of messages already here that says baseball sucks. No, it sucks more if your team doesn't make the playoffs. I can tell you that. And the Phillies are in. So congratulations. And what better way to stay on top of the Fighting Phils as they head into Red October than to catch Greg Murphy and Chris Sack from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. every Sunday on Bud Light Baseball Brunch. Green Legion Invasions. We just got through Tampa Bay in 2 weeks. Another huge one, Los Angeles. I think there's still everything else is still open. Tampa's sold out. I'm pretty sure everything else is still open as of right now. That is Kansas City, Seattle, Dallas, Los Angeles, the bye-week bender in Punta Cana. I always recommend that. But also bus trips for up to New York for the Giants and Jets, and also the bus trip to DC later this year. As far as the Kansas City game, there is still an outside shot that yours truly may actually go on that trip. Whether it be, me by myself, Michelle can't go. All right. We worked that out today. She's not going to be able to go. She doesn't have the PTO. And, look, guys, I love that my wife likes to do these things with me. We've enjoyed using Green Legion trips as kind of an adult thing. We went to Denver a few years ago, Arizona last year, Punta Cana a couple of years before that, Tampa this year. But the bottom line is Kansas City on a Monday night in late November is not really her cup of tea. Let's just put it that way. And even if she wanted to go, she's pretty much out of PTO time to use. So she can't. I, however, can. And so there's still an outside shot. I don't know if we're going to be actually able to do it or not. But if anyone was looking at going to Kansas City, there is still a chance your friend Unhappy Gilmore may still be there. So we will see what works out there. I need to talk to Quimby a little bit more. But as far as the rest of the trips, like you guys hear me say every week, if there's one that you think you might want to go on and you're on the fence, you're not quite sure, I don't really know if I can do it, blah, 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 blah. I really want to go. Don't hesitate, right? You saw what happened with Tampa. Even when we opened up two 200 more tailgate spots. They sold out. It sold out ridiculously fast. Not quite as fast as I think Q was anticipating, but still, they still sold out. We were 1,500 strong at George Steinbrenner Field. It was absolutely amazing. That tailgate was unbelievable. It was hot as hell in there. Oh, but it was, it's Florida, so it's going to be hot. But again, he who hesitates does what? Yeah, that's what they do, because they don't get to go on the trip because they waited too long. So if you're looking at Kansas City, if you're looking at Seattle, Dallas, Los Angeles, Punta Cana, or the bus trips, if there's still openings there, do not hesitate. Jump on it. There were plenty of first-timers that I got the pleasure to meet in Tampa. They could not speak more highly of the wonderful time that they had with all of us down there in Tampa. It's always a great time, no matter what the size of the trip. We always have a blast. Just book it, okay? Just book it. It's like I tell everyone, and I told people on that trip who was their first time, I obviously can't promise you what the outcome of the game is going to be. But when you book with the Green Legion, what I can do is I can promise you a fantastic time. And anybody who's been on any one of these trips, or even just a home tailgate, knows exactly what I'm talking about. So get on it, get booked, get your ass out on the road with us. All right, let's hop over to the room. What are you all talking about in here? Keenan. Lou, please start putting some change in a jar so you can do an invasion with us next season. I'm thinking New Orleans would be another great one. Keenan, you read my mind. Looking at the future schedules, New Orleans is the target for Michelle and I next year. That's one we really want to go on. So that's our goal. And, hey, look, we'll put the early bird deposit in, and then for us, it's going to depend on the dates and then the cost, of course, too. But, if it's too close to Christmas, if it's the weekend of Thanksgiving, if it's Halloween, if it's New Year's, it makes it tough for us because we still have the kids. But thankfully, we've been pretty fortunate with the games that we've wanted to go on. We've been able to, the dates have worked out over the last few years. So we're hoping New Orleans does the same thing. If not, Tampa, we're in Tampa again next year. It's not a bad fallback position. But we'll just have to cross that bridge when it comes to it. Lou Mancini, I do have to try and make it to New Orleans. See, there you go, man. You got at least a year from now, right? To get all your ducks in a row. So, we know who we're playing. We just don't know when. David Califoot in the room. What's up, y'all? Keenan, Lou, Yankees suck, Gilmore. Okay, Califoot, glad you decided to join us. Glad you dropped your normal Yankees suck thing. Because, congratulations, as of last night, the Boston Red Sox not only locked up yet another last place finish, but also ensured themselves that they would be the only team in the American League East to finish with a losing record. Add that to Penn State kicking Iowa's ass over the weekend, and it's been a rough couple days for you, buddy. How are you, Dave? What else do we got here? Andrew Bagley, there he is. Good evening, roomies. Let's go, Phils and Birds. I'm so ready for it. How's everyone? Sounds like everybody's pretty lively tonight. Everybody's having a good time. Schwarbaum to the upper deck. 1-0 Phils, top of the first. Congratulations again, if you missed it, to the I said it at the top of the show. Congratulations to the Fighting Phils on another Red October. Francine, I'm coming to Kansas City. Booked my tickets and tailgate with you guys today. Super pumped. How many folks coming to Kansas City? I don't have that number right now, Francine. I can try to get it by next week. That number may look light right now because people do hesitate. And we're still, 2 months out. But it will start to pick up steam, especially as the Birds keep winning games. And keep in mind, that's the Monday night before Thanksgiving. A lot of people have that week off already. If they're not dealing with the challenge of, children and family trips for Thanksgiving, I would expect it to fill up rather quickly, which is why I'm trying to make my determination as quick as possible. I've already gone on the Tampa trip, so it's a little bit more difficult for me to justify going twice. But we're going to work on it, and we're going to try to figure it out. David California, how was that plane trip, sir? Well, it was a hell of a lot easier than watching your Red Sox play for 6 months just to finish under 500 and in last place. There is no part of this argument that you're going to win, buddy. Bryant Walden, I know a great spot we can have charbroiled oysters in New Orleans. See, I've never been to New Orleans either. Never. Michelle has been there for a bachelorette party years ago. I've never been, and I really want to go. Francine again, sure, we are 2 months out. It's going to be an incredible game. Yeah, when we looked at the schedule to start the year, Francine, we kind of ran through what we thought was going to happen week to week. And I'd feel better about it if it was in Philly. Being that it's in Kansas City, I'm not real confident we're going to get any piece of revenge that night. Not that we can't, right? I mean, obviously think we're talented enough to do so. I just don't think it's going to happen that night. That's all. But you never know. That's why they play the games. Keenan, I still smoke, Lou. Gave up the CWS recall to pay for these trips. All right. Touch base. Anybody from my Midwest Eagles nest who is listening now or maybe listening or watching over the next day or so. Looks like we're back up into the mid-20s to 30, 25 to 30 for head count. I promise you, I am going to be up there early on Sunday. What is going to start happening, the folks who respond to the Facebook post are going to be the ones who get the prime seating, right? Some of us, like myself, Michelle, my kids, Mike and Angie, assign seats as it is, not negotiable. The rest of the folks who are replying and helping us get that head count so we know how many seats to reserve, they're going to get the first dibs on our prime area back there. The rest of you will have to try to grab tables somewhat close to us. And I keep saying it, the more consistent we can have a good number of people, 30, 40 or more people, the quicker we can move to a larger area and take over that whole area. And a lot of this goes away. Right now, we have 22 seats guaranteed. We go above that, and the people forcing that number above that didn't let us know. I can't promise you anything. And I want to be able to help, and I want to be able to take care of all of you like I try to every week. But you have to help me too, me and Mike. You got to help us with the head count. All right. Beyond that, want to get a photographer up there to take some decent pictures of us. Friend of the program, Kim and Aaron know him, so that'll help. I've still got wristbands available, $2 a piece. Again, I have to charge you for them because we have to pay for them. And I do still have the sign-up sheet for what I'd like to do on that Saturday of our bye week, which is the Cincinnati Cyclones game. So anybody in my group here who's listening now or later, keep that in mind coming into this Sunday. Finally get a 1:00 game, and we're going to talk about the Birds here in just a little bit. Marco Pena, Chicago, checking in. Welcome aboard. Thank you for being with us. Introduce yourself to the folks in the room there and join the madness. All right. As far as Tampa Bay goes, you guys all know, a lot of you know what Green Legion trips are like. They're always awesome, right? Now, Michelle and I ended up working a lot this trip, which was different for us. I still had a blast. I love the crowd. I love the whole experience, right? Um, I would do every trip if I could afford it. I would work every trip if Quimby would hire me full time. um, but so to run through it, I mean, it's this time having worked it, it's not like I've never helped Quimby and the crew on the on these trips before, but this time was different. This time we were really all in, and I just want to tell everyone who came out, all 1,500 of you at the tailgate, everyone at the hotels, for most of you, probably 85 to 90% of you, making it very easy to get you on and off the buses. Thank you for an awesome weekend. And I hope I can run into you again on another trip or at a home tailgate at some point. You really make it very special. And right now, I want to give a very special shout out to Keenan and Pam for the help on Monday with the buses. All right. I had Michelle kind of handling two. I had myself handling two. And then Cap and Summer were handling a couple. But I think Keenan had to take one of those over. And then on the return trip coming back from the stadium, which was a little bit more of a mess because it's dark. Everybody's now been drinking a bunch. Some people don't think they still need their badge on, and it makes it difficult to get them all on the right buses. Keenan, again, right there by my side, pretty much the entire time until it was time to get rolling. So huge special shout out to Keenan and Pam. Thank you so much for your help with that. I don't know if I could have pulled it off without you guys. Obviously, Captain Demps, always, he was there doing his thing too, and my lovely wife, Michelle. But Keenan, you stepped in where we needed the help, even without being asked, and that was huge. And I really, really appreciate it. So, if you were there, the tailgate, what more could be said? George M. Steinbrenner Field, and we invaded it as Eagle fans. It was kind of a worlds colliding moment for me, which was pretty cool. I wish I'd have had some more time to walk around and take pictures, but I do have family down, I consider them family down there that we will get back and be able to spend some more time in that area. But epic. I mean, they had the Green Legion, logo up on the scoreboard in center field. The pregame show that we were able to do, it was, I think, where we were sitting might have been the hottest point on the face of the earth during that hour. I mean, Irv and I were I kept taking my hat off and trying to fan Irv down. He was up there asking for a fan. But just a blast. I had a great time doing the show. All of you who were in that room watching us and getting loud and everything, you guys brought that energy then throughout the tailgate, during the game, all throughout the weekend with the chants, the pep rally at Shepherd's on Saturday night. You were all absolutely amazing. And just, it was fantastic. If any of you bought a t-shirt from us, right? For most of the weekend, when Quimby and Steph were set up to get everybody checked in, Michelle and I, along with Steph's boyfriend, Brendan, were hockey team. Now, Brendan, he kind of floated back and forth. He'd sit in for Quimby. He'd help us. Super, super nice guy and really, really helpful and also enormous. So I didn't feel bad about walking away from my wife if I had to go to the bathroom. I knew he was there. But if you bought a t-shirt from us, I really want, this is my Arizona one, but I'd like to also say thank you for that. And, again, I don't know how many, I don't know the number of shirts we sold. What I do know was that when we set up the shirts on Saturday at noon, at the rooftop bar at the Hampton. I think there were 6 boxes of them. By the time I helped Quimby pack everything up and get it ready to ship out of there or drive back with, we were able to fit all the t-shirts into one box. So thank you to everyone out there who bought the shirts. It was just a fantastic weekend overall. It was awesome, as it always is. But that trip was really cool. The speedboat championships out in the Gulf there. Wish we could have seen a little bit more of that, but the little bit that we did see was pretty cool. So just a great time, and I was really happy to do it. Very happy to help out the way we could this time around, and without question, I would do that every week, and twice on Sunday. Anyways, that's Tampa, kids. So let's hop over and see what you guys are doing before we head on to the boner of the week. Where are we here? Chicago checking in. Russ Taylor, okay, all you Philly peeps, I'm going to be setting up a cart and starting to sell liquor on the border. David Califoot, can I donate $10 for one of those wristbands mailed? Shoot me your address, and we'll go from there. And also let me know. Like, there's a guy. Well, I'll message you later on, but message me your address, and we'll go from there. Russ Taylor, what if Taylor is playing the long game and dump Travis at the Super Bowl and have him go into a slump? Oh, jeez. Andrew Bagley, Chris Sims, a slam dunk for Weasel of the Week Thursday. I can't stand Chris Sims. Him, and I can't stand Phil Sims. I think they're both dumb. I really do. I think they're both just dumb. Their takes are always terrible. They're so far off on. It's awful. I still listen to Mad Dog Radio. And it's Mad Dog Unleashed. It's Chris Russo from like 3 to 6 or whatever the hell it is. And I think it's every Friday or Thursday. He's got Phil Sims on there, and I'll be able to catch it from time to time. And Phil's a moron. I'm sorry. I'm just not a fan. And his kid is just as bad. His kid's just as bad, only without the on-field accolades. That's the difference. Terrible. The Sims. May as well be Booger McFarland. David Califoot, I'm so glad I didn't go. Seeing all those Yankee things on the wall, I would have gotten so sick. How did nobody vomit? You got to get over it, right? Like you got a real issue there. Gaten, it was hot as Ronde barbecue in the room. Russ Taylor, did Tampa lose some of their fan base when Captain America retired? I don't know, but I have you guys seen some of the videos and some of the crap we were pulling out there? There's that big Go Bucks flag, and Eagle fans ripped it while the Bucks fans were holding it up. I mean, look, mess around and find out, I guess. Andrew Bagley, did you hear what he said of how we would stop the tush push? Chris Sims is a moron, dude. Don't pay him any mind. He's not worth the time or the effort. Russ Taylor, I love the Eagles fans didn't let the Buck flag go over them in the end zone. Yeah, that's exactly what I was just talking about. Perfect. All right. Boner of the week. Well, I mean, there were plenty of choices, right? There's always plenty of choices. Sometimes we go with a group effort. This week, we're not going to do that. Lou Mancini's usually been pretty good about guessing who it's going to be. I mean, we could go with Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes. All that hype just to get shellacked, right? How about the Chicago Bears and how awful they've been? The Chicago Justin Fieldses and how awful he's been too. There's a case to be made for all of them and a whole bunch more people. But I'm sorry, not sorry, actually. When you lose a football game in historic fashion. Coach Payton, you do not get to get off the hook for that. You lose that game 70-20. Yeah, Califoot, nail on the head. Just an epic disaster, right? In case you missed it on Sunday, and you'd have to be living underneath a rock if you did, the Denver Broncos got absolutely drilled by the Miami Dolphins. Now, look, that Miami team, especially on the offensive side, is dangerous. There is far too much speed on that offense they're going to be a problem. As long as Tua stays healthy, they are going to be a problem for pretty much everyone they play. And we get them week 7. Thank God it's in Philly. But the 70 points that they put up are the most in the NFL since 1966 and tied for the third most in league history. The 726 yards, second most in league history. Folks, the Denver Broncos allowed the Miami Dolphins to break or tie 13 of their own franchise records, including points with 70, touchdowns with 10, total yards with 726, and 350 rushing yards. Meanwhile, the Broncos put up a meager 363 yards of total offense, 294 passing, 69 rushing, 20 points, 3 total turnovers, 2 of those fumbles by Courtland Sutton, and an interception by Russ, who can't cook anymore. They were 3 for 12 on third down and 0 for 1 on fourth down. They got absolutely destroyed. Obviously, with that point total being that far out, I mean, I'm 44 years old. I've never seen that before. So, yeah, Russ Taylor. Broncos country. Let's ride. Overall, an epic hot mess. And despite my anger at the FAA for some of their rules with this stupid ramp that can't get used when there's lightning going on, when a team loses like that, especially after bringing in a coach like Sean Payton, and we all got told he's here to change the culture, right? That was the big thing. He's here to change the culture, change the losing culture. When you do all that and you get mollywopped like that, there's really no other way to go. Easily the boner of the week, Sean Payton and his Denver Broncos for getting beat by 50 points. So the over for the game was less than the margin of victory for the Dolphins. There's a stat for you. When somebody wants to bring that up, I think the over-under was like 47.5. The Dolphins won by 50. There you go. One thing I will say, though, the honorable mention for Boner of the Week, any one of these Swifties who thinks that nobody knew who Travis Kelce was before he started piping Taylor, yeah, you get the honorable mention. No disrespect. What a mess. I mean, did any of you watch that? We had it on at the Brown Boxer. It was on a bunch of different TVs. And, oh, my God, what an epic, epic, epic disaster that was. So, at this time, we will do this as we head into some sports. And we get out of the boner of the week and stuff. Talk a little college ball. And then we will move on to the birds. And then we're going to call it a night. One thing I want to check back over here real quick. Yeah, be quiet. The Dolphins just scored again. Ah! Are you really afraid of Miami, though? I think Buffalo beats them Sunday. I'm not afraid of them, Dave. I do think their offense is going to be a lot to handle, provided Tua stays on the field. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are stupid fast, and Raheem Mostert might be faster than both of them. Look, the Broncos stink. I get it, but like 70 points is 70 points. Okay, 726 yards. I don't care who you're playing against. Those are video game numbers. Could Buffalo go out and beat them this week? Sure, of course they could. But to not be at least a little concerned about what Miami's offense is capable of, especially with how weak we are in the middle of our defense. I think you have to. I mean, we got to keep watching, but we're also going to play Buffalo later too, so we'll see how it goes. What else? Russ Taylor, take a close-up of Taylor Swift's knees. Travis is putting her in check. Yowza! All right. Let's talk a little college football on that note. So, as we talked about last week, there were a handful of games we were pretty pumped up for. The lineup of college football this past Saturday was awesome from pretty much 3:30 on. But there were a handful we were really pumped up about. One of them was Colorado at Oregon. And not so much because I thought Colorado was going to win the game, but more so because we wanted to see what Coach Prime and his Buffaloes would do in a big matchup. Holy shit. The line was 21, and Oregon was up 35-0 at halftime en route to a 42-6 victory. Shedeur Sanders, who had looked great, but as we discussed last week, seems like he holds the ball a little too much, looking for that big play all the time. Sound familiar? I mean, he had been getting away with it, but against Oregon, he got sacked 7 times for negative 70 yards. For the game, he had 159 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 10 carries for negative 34 yards. They did a really good job on it. Overall, Colorado had just 13 first downs the entire game. Oregon had 30. Bo Nix torched the Colorado defense for 276 yards and 3 touchdowns while only dumping 5 incomplete passes. As a team, Oregon rushed 38 times for 240 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, just a brutal, brutal game. And with that loss, Colorado dropped all the way out of the top 25. Just in time to head back home and welcome in number 8 USC and last year's Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams. I mean, Bo Nix lit Colorado up like a Christmas tree until the game got out of reach, and then they just ran the ball down their throat. What the hell do you think Caleb Williams is going to do to this team? Right now, the line on that USC game, Califoot, if you're listening, right now, and Andrew Bagley, good point here. Right now, the line is 21.5. I don't know that that's enough. I'm not a big fan of laying huge amounts of points like that. I'd be awfully tempted to give Colorado that 21.5 and watch Caleb go crazy against that team. Andrew Bagley, how about Notre Dame losing? And I love that it was on the last possession. We're going to get to them in a couple of minutes, bud. Andrew Bagley again. How many points does USC hang on Colorado? Coach Prime got to get blown out again. Yes. I agree. That's what we just talked about. I don't think that 21.5 is enough. And I think that's going to get really, 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 really ugly. Anyways, the next one up for Califoot here, who loves his Hawkeyes. Yeah, number 24, Iowa at number 7, Penn State. 31-0 victory for Penn State. Now, I had said going into that game, even on last week's show, I was not comfortable with Penn State giving anyone 14 points. Okay. Especially an Iowa team that likes to slow things down, likes to run the ball and play defense. And the weather was not supposed to be good. overall, it ended up being a non-issue for Penn State, but it was a very aggravating start to the game for anyone who watched it. I still felt like the play calling was a bit reserved, and I'm getting increasingly frustrated with that. Like we talked about last week, Drew Aller was like the top-rated quarterback in his class, and we got him, and you have him dinking and dunking all over the place, right? He did finish with 4 touchdowns, but just 166-yard passing, and it took 37 attempts for him to get to that, okay? Yards per attempt, that's only 4.5. Yards per completion was 6.6. These are not big-time numbers. I want to see them take the leash off this kid and let him air it out. But anyways, I also know the weather wasn't great, and we did put up 215 yards on the ground, so I can't complain too much. We forced 4 turnovers while not turning it over either, +4 for the game. And the Hawkeyes, Califoot, sorry, bud, you only had 76 total yards of offense, and you only held the ball for 14 minutes and 33 seconds in that game. You could make the case this should have been a much bigger blowout based on the turnover ratio and the time of possession, but I really can't stand Iowa, so I will take the win no matter what. It was nice to get the blowout 31-0 win at the whiteout. What are you guys talking about over here? Bagley again. Penn State does this every year, but they can't beat Ohio State or Michigan. What changes this year? Nothing. I don't think anything changes. I know, and I said that at the start of the season. I think we are still just the 3rd best team in the conference, and I also think that as long as James Franklin is the head coach, that this program will never be more than B+ at best. And I don't think they make the playoff until it expands to 12 teams. That's my personal opinion. Moving on. Ohio State at Notre Dame, the game of the week, and it did not disappoint. If you like the defense, okay? Ohio State keeps its 87-year unbeaten streak versus Notre Dame with an epic 17-14 victory in South Bend, right? Not like they played this at the shoe. Like I said, defense was the name of the game here, so there's not a whole lot to talk about. No turnovers in the game, but nothing really lighting up the scoreboard either. Buckeyes were up 3-0 at halftime. That was the score. And late in the third, they'd be up 10-0 before they would see the Irish score 14 straight to take a 14-10 lead. And then the final possession of the game with just 1 second left, Ohio State running back Trayanum, whatever the hell his name is, plunges over the goal line, and the extra point gives the Buckeyes the 17-14 victory. As Andrew Bagley mentioned before, look, being a Penn State fan, I don't have any love for Ohio State, obviously. Personally, I also don't have love for the Irish. It was the game of the week, and I just wanted to see a good football game, and it delivered. And I think the right team probably – look, at home, Notre Dame was looking like they might be the more talented program this year. But Notre Dame, they just have a tendency to come up really small in these big games. You can almost bank on it every year. So I was not at all surprised. Close game, but again, finding a way to lose. So what are we looking for this week? Well, expect Penn State to keep rolling against Northwestern, but 27.5 points? I'm sorry, that's just too much for me. I'm not giving that to anybody. I think it's interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see how the Irish would respond at Duke. Duke ranked number 17 in the country. Notre Dame has dropped to 11th. Giving 5.5 to Duke on the road after that heartbreaker against the Buckeyes. Texas, 3rd in the nation, right? Taking on number 24, Kansas, who's also 4-0. Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers has tossed 1,033 yards, 9 touchdowns, and no interceptions. The Horns by 16.5. We'll see what happens. Ole Miss at home, getting 2.5 from LSU after the loss to Bama, where the Rebel offense just couldn't get it going. I think that could be an interesting game as well. And then finally, I think you can pretty much bank on the fact that USC is going to crush, going to crush Colorado. Right? Currently, USC giving 21.5, and that might be kind considering what we saw Bo Nix do to the Buffalo's defense this past week. I don't like laying that many points, but, that Colorado team looked terrible against a big dog like Oregon. USC's even better. And, they have the guy who's trying to become only the second player to ever win two, back-to-back Heisman trophies. The last, the only one to do it was Archie Griffin. So, what do we got going on over here? Andrew, I love that I didn't have to watch that midget run on the field. Yeah, you're just like me with the hate for the Irish, right? Bagley again. Duke already beat Clemson. Love to see Duke beat Notre Dame. We'll see, and I'm interested to see how they bounce back. On the road, given 5.5. We'll see. Russ Taylor, can the Buffaloes bounce back? No, I do not believe so. I think USC is far too much for them. Do I expect them to be held to 6 points again? No, probably not. But to think they're going to bounce back with any kind of victory, I just don't see it. Russ Taylor, how long has Bo Nix been in college? I swear since the Obama administration. 2019. I know it feels like forever, but 2019 was his first season. So this is 5 years now. 5 years, 2 different schools. He's been all over the place. I don't know what a lot of what happened with these guys where it feels like that is that COVID season, they were allowed to sit and not lose any eligibility. So you get guys that have just, they feel like they've been around for decades and, they made the exceptions. All right. We're going to post this again. Guys, keep not taking the bait. Nobody wants to jump in. Although I am going to have a surprise for you next week. All right. Let's get down to the birds here, huh? 25-11 road victory in Tampa on Monday night. Okay. Before we get going here and people start ripping the offense and, worried about the pass game and all that. Russ, I know you're at work, bud. I think you guys all need to remember that road wins are special, right? I know our boys have made a habit of just winning every freaking football game. But those road victories are very, very special. Especially now, after making the Super Bowl last year with the big year we had, we come into the season as one of the hunted. And, that just makes it even more difficult to go into someone else's house and win. Anyways, like I said, just keep that in mind, guys. Road wins are tough. And they're special. And we've had 2 of our first 3 on the road. 1 in New England, hostile territory, while they're celebrating Tom Brady. And 1 this past Monday night in Tampa. Not as hostile, but still celebrating Rondé Barber. They were pretty emotional. And we walked away with victories in both. And then, sandwiched around a home victory against the Vikings. So, anyways, back to the game. Now, having said all that, did Jalen Hurts look great? No, he did not. 23 of 37, 277 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. I don't know, guys. Am I the only one that feels like he was trying to force the ball to A.J. Brown? 14 targets for A.J. led the team by at least 5 or 6 at that, which fine. Remember last year, week to week, it was somebody else, right? it was Brown, or it was Devontae. Some weeks it was both. Some weeks it was just Goddard. But it just, I don't know. That game, it felt like he was trying to push the ball to AJ, which is not smart. Yeah, the whole always open thing. Look, I get it. Jalen threw a bunch of 50-50 balls last year. Out there to AJ, out there to Devontae. And our guys came down with most of them. Sometimes it's not going to work out. All right. Jalen, he also carried 10 times for 28 yards with another touchdown. Overall, did he look great? No. Was he completely awful? No, he wasn't that either. But he does look a little confused in the pocket. I do still think that defenses have adjusted to him. We talked about some of this on the pregame show, if you guys were listening. Defenses have adjusted to him. So now it's on Jalen to adjust back. It's also on the offensive coordinator to help with that. And right now, Jalen feels like he's still trying to figure it out. So, I don't know. I just, the turnovers are a little alarming considering how well we took care of the ball last year. It'd be one thing to look a little erratic, but we're turning the ball over more than I would care to see. Again, they've adjusted to him. He's got to figure it out. The change in coordinator. All of that plays a role. No preseason. Another game on the road. First game was Belichick. Second game was a Belichick disciple. Third game is another one. Third game is Todd Bowles. It's not an easy go. However, the ground game, yikes, fellas, guys and girls. Another big week from DeAndre Swift, 16 carries for 130 yards. Doesn't get in the end zone this time, but still a huge week. Gainwell adds 14 carries for 43 yards. Overall, 40 carries, 201 yards, and the touchdown from Jalen. Look, guys, if we're going to continue to run for 200 plus every week, nobody's going to beat us. Nobody will beat us. Regardless of the past game. If we're going to be able to just stuff the ball down everyone's throat the way we're doing right now, there's not a team in the league that can beat us. Before we get to the defense, let's see some of your reaction from the game. Keenan, good point here. How about your favorite special teams player, number 18, finally breaking a long run? Actually, I did see a statistic. I think it was from like the last 3 or 4 games of last year to now. He is actually the top punt returner in the league. Yeah, he's got the longest return. He's got the longest average. He's the highest average. So it's starting to come into his own a little bit. And if he continues to play that way, then he's got a spot on this roster. Russ Taylor, have you watched the Kelsey documentary? Yes, I've watched it. I thought it was very well done. The only part I didn't like was having to relive the Super Bowl. That sucked. Califoot, my parlay lost because of Devontae's yards. I can never read who they're going to go to week by week. And that's a good thing. It shouldn't just be obvious who we're going to every week. It should be based on matchup, and it should be based on who's open play by play. Nothing forced. I don't think you have a clear number 1 and a clear number 2 receiver. I think we have a number 1 and a 1A, where any week, either one of them could take over. Russ Taylor, I'm going to say this now. No matter what happens when the Eagles play the Dolphins, he is going to have an MVP-type game because Tua is who he was benched for in the national title game. I tend to agree with you. And I think there was one show we did last year where we looked very, very deeply at the comparisons between these two guys and why they are always going to be attached at the hip based on those experiences at Alabama. I think that benching is what gives Jalen that huge chip on his shoulder and forces a lot of that just completely driven work ethic that we see from Jalen Hurts week to week. Andrew Bagley, I think people were and are too quick to put Jalen on the superstar level. It was only one season, and they rushed the big contract, in my opinion. Okay. It was only one season. I get it. But to watch where he was at the end of 2020 through where he ended up in 2022, he grew exponentially year over year, right? So he takes over late in the year. It was actually the week we were in Punta Cana against the Packers. He takes over, they bench Wentz, right? And Wentz is, from that point on, he's done. It's the end of his Eagles career. They turn the reins over to Jalen. And he's erratic, right? Completion percentage is not good. A lot of questions about the arm strength. And we talked about those things right here on this show. The questions on Jalen were always going to be arm strength and accuracy. He has vastly improved both year over year. Even before the addition of A.J. Brown, he was already getting better. The work ethic, the intelligence, and the natural leadership capability, all coupled with his continued growth and then the explosion last year, leads to the big contract. He earned the money, in my opinion. Now, the league has adjusted to him, and he has to figure out how to respond to that. So I get the questions on why they, did we give it to him too soon? Well, problem is, if you didn't, you're going to lose him. And then where are we turning to? It's not always just about the guy you're paying it to. It's about, if you don't pay that guy, who the hell else are you going to put in that role? Gardner Minshew? We saw how that looked last year. I'm pretty sure they made the right decision and they went for it. And the contract is not bad cap-wise for the first few. Now, it'll get there, and then we'll have to figure it out. But there's a window, even with the big contract. So that's what we're hoping for. All right. Yep, that Dolphins-Birds game is going to be a shootout. Probably. Russ Taylor, those holes, the lines opening up for Swift, you could drive a septic buster. I agree. If you watch that offensive line, and I think that's also part of Jalen's problem with the passing game, he does not have nearly enough time back there. Sometimes he's holding the ball too long. I'm not going to make all the excuses in the world for him. But it does appear that the offensive line is having a bit of trouble pass protecting. Whereas run blocking, they are out there with smiles on their face, just shoving people around. And it's a thing of beauty. All right. That takes care of the offense. Now the defense, where we talked about it last week, and we talked about it during the pregame show. And I talked about it at length on the pregame show, how I really feel about Faker Mayfield. He comes in to that game as one of the league's top-rated passers at 104.4. He'd only been sacked once and had faced the Chicago Bears and Minnesota Vikings defenses. For his career, he is atrocious when he's under duress. There was no question in my mind we were going to get that pressure on him, and he was going to be awful. Sure enough, 15 of 25, 146 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, right? He also fumbled once and was sacked twice. We were in his face all night long. The Tampa run game, also non-existent, which I absolutely love. 17 carries for 41 yards. That's it. Rachaad White, 14 of those carries for 38. He led the way. Overall, the Bucs had 174 yards of total offense and only held the ball for 21 minutes, 5 seconds to our 38 minutes, 55 seconds. That's just a whooping. Blankenship all night long. 7 total tackles, 1 pass defense, and the interception. Jalen Carter, once again, an absolute menace out on the field. 1 QB hit, half a sack, and the 2 forced fumbles. And my favorite stat so far this season, in 158 snaps, Aaron Donald has 14 QB pressures. So far this season, in 89 snaps, Jalen Carter has 15 QB pressures. Yeah, the kid's a freak, okay? Fletcher Cox had the other half a sack and 2 QB hits. Tui Pelotu with the QB hit and a sack. Overall, like I said, in Baker's face all night long. And if you listen to the Green Legion Radio pregame show, you heard about us talk about that exact thing. Irv and I were all over that. And I threw out numbers. I think 45.7% completion, 22 touchdowns, 24 interceptions for his career when under duress. It showed. So that wraps up Monday night, 25-11, right? And the 11, the game, even that touchdown came late. It was 25-3. I had to go back out to the lot and get ready to put people on buses. So yeah, 3-0, baby. So as much as the pass offense has looked erratic, not very polished, still appears to need a bunch of work. Rushing offense has been great, and the defense has been absolutely amazing. And now we come back home, and we finally have a 1 o'clock football game. Thank God, one of our 3 1 o'clock football games this year against the Washington Commodes, who are 2-1, but a little bit of fool's gold there, right? They beat Arizona and Denver, and the combined margin of victory against those 2 teams is 6 points. All right. Then they got absolutely destroyed by Buffalo 37-3 in front of their home crowd. During the offseason, we all heard about how Sam Howell might be good enough to be the guy in Washington who can, at least bridge the gap and keep them somewhat competitive. Yeah, whatever. 671 yards, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a 43.2 quarterback rating. And get this, my favorite one, through 3 games has been sacked 19 times. And now he's got our defense coming in. Well, sorry, now he's coming into our house to face our defense. Defensively, they gave up 331 yards per game, 203 through the air, 128.6 on the ground. They are hemorrhaging 28.6 points per game in their 3 contests. They're also -3 in the turnover department. Yes, if you're thinking we're not going to be able to beat the Commodes this coming Sunday, don't think that this team doesn't remember what happened last year. Coming out of the bye week, flying high, undefeated, and it was the Commodes that knocked us off. I just don't see it this time. We talked about this on the tailgate that sooner or later, and I called it out, sooner or later there is going to be a big coming out party for this offense. I had hoped it would be Monday night against Tampa. A lot of that was greedily thinking, I'm in the crowd, able to go to the game. It'd be a nice treat for all the folks that traveled with us, Green Legion. Ultimately, it didn't happen. It's going to happen sooner or later, guys. And don't be surprised if it's this Sunday at home against this Commodes team. So, one more time over to the room before we call it a night. There's a big game. Keenan Harmon shouting out Irving Fryer on another trip around the sun. That's right. That's right. I was going to do that right at the close of the show, but thank you, Keenan Harmon, for that. That is a big happy, unhappy birthday. No, kidding around. Big happy birthday to the Reverend, the Dr. Mr. Irving Fryer, from all of us here at the Unhappy Gilmore Show. David Califoot, Commodes are going to get blown up. Agreed. Lou Mancini, Sam Howell. How about Sam Adams? Not a big fan of Sam Adams. But even less of a fan of Sam Howell. Keenan Harmon, meet me at the Green Legion tailgate for bacon this Sunday, folks. There you go. And Andrew Bagley, if they need another reason to win the game, just beat Josh Harris, please. Nice. All right, guys, that's about all I've got for this week. So, for Andrew Bagley, Keenan Harmon, Lou Mancini, David Califoot, Russ Taylor. Oh, goodness. Who else was in the room with us here? We had a bunch of Bryant Walden, Suzanne Trainer. I really have to start writing this down. Francine. And anyone else listening or watching who didn't comment or may listen or watch later, thank you very much for joining us as always. Come back again next week. We'll be back to our regularly scheduled day and time, Wednesday at 6 o'clock. We will be in our nest at the Back Porch Saloon next Wednesday night at 6 p.m. And I will be there early enough to test and make sure the freaking Wi-Fi is okay. And I have a special treat for you guys. So, friends of ours who are part of our group out here, Kim, her father, Dave Thompson, is going to join us next Wednesday night. He's a lifelong Philadelphia Eagles fan, and I cannot wait to pick his brain and have him give us some stories about the good old days and how he feels about this team now. So, come on back next week. I'm sure he'll enjoy that. We're all going to try to have a good time. So for everybody in the room, for everybody watching now or later, this has been the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio and part of the Green Legion Radio family. Everyone, take care. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the weekend. Be safe. I want to see you all back here next week. And as always, go Birds. All right, kids, that's going to do it for me. I am out of here. I am tired. I am hungry, and I need to get through this week. Y'all take care. Be good. We love you.